Good morning everyone. Okay, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to just take you through this book. It is now one of my favorite needlework embroidery floral books because it's the A to Z of embroidered flowers, and in there are even some Australian flowers, which is what sort of drew me to this particular book. It's printed by Search Press Classics. Now, I had a little look at when it was printed and I couldn't see a date, but what I did find on the inside cover is heaps of their books. The A to Z of wool embroidery, for example. Heirloom stitching, like white work. There's just heaps here. They have a Facebook page, so you can have a bit of a look through the whole range of all of their books. It's just lovely. So what I've done so far, when everyone started the Roxy Stitchery, Journal of Stitchery, and everyone was doing their sampler, I decided that I would use this book and these flowers as part of my sampler. So this was the panel that I created to kick off that project. But I've since removed it from the book because it's nearly a journal of stitchery in its own right. So my plans now is to create a journal just focused on these flowers and these particular little projects within it. So its very own journal. So what I've done so far is I've created a panel that has 2, 4, 6, 8 of them on there. So I'll just give you a little measurement in case you wanted to make something similar. It's 4 3/4 wide and 9.5 high. So that was going to be perfect to go into my Stitchery Roxy Creations project. But it sort of has, like I said, come out, and I think this is going to be a project within itself. What I'll do is we'll do a flip through the book so you can sort of see where I got my pieces from and what other ones are in there. And then going forward will be a series of videos where I will complete one of the little flowers and build more of these blocks, and it will then become a journal. So a nice little project to do, similar to what's the words, Rachel does the project per day, 100 oh gosh, I've gone blank, the 100 project day, or the 100, yeah, anyway, you know what I mean. So I'm thinking I'll do a similar sort of thing, but stitch one of these little flowers and post a little video of what I've done. And if you can track down the book and you want to follow along, that's great. Or you have some similar books at home that show you all different ways to embroider flowers. So I'll just show you the piece itself. I chose a really nice quality linen. I thought I might as well use one of my special pieces instead of just calico or homespun, just to add a nice texture to the sampler. The first one was the cornflower. I'll just bring it up to the camera. I even wrote the word of the flower just to sort of help me remember what each one was. Queen Anne lace. Another name for that, I believe, is baby's breath. You often see it as a filler in floral arrangements. Then the classic daisy. I love how they even captured the way the leaf of the daisy is quite a spidery looking leaf. Lavender, they have a few lavenders in the book, so you could nearly do a sampler of just of different lavenders. So I was really happy with the way that came, especially with the little touch of the white on the top, like the flower that comes off the top of lavender. Okay, then we've got another 2. The bottle brush was a real challenge. It I sort of made the little sprays of flowers, the stamens or the petals of the bottle brush all come out right up the whole stem, and it just didn't look right. Then I twigged that they actually come from one point. So as soon as I unpicked it and made each little spray come from that one point on that stem, it suddenly looked like a bottle brush. So it was just quite interesting that you've really got to take note of how nature has created the flower so that your mind goes, oh yes, that's a bottle brush. Otherwise you look at it and go, no, that's not a bottle brush. Okay, we've got crocus and little forget-me-nots. How cute are they? It was so simple to do those. This one took a little time, a hydrangea. there is just hundreds and hundreds of French knots there. And then to sort of add a bit of light and reflection, I added a couple little white ones on top. So that's my little panel. The squares within the panel, the border, if you will, they are 2 1/4 by nearly 2 1/4. So not quite square. That is more than enough space to sketch in your little image and stitch. So I just use my favorite fabric pen. You add heat and it just disappears. It's a Pilot Frixon pen, and it's just a case of sketch the little flowers into the space. And because we're only working in just over 2 square inch space, really simple to a little quick project. So that's the piece that I've done so far. So we'll just have a flip through the book just to show you some of the other things that are in the book in case you did want to track it down. I picked this up at a thread specialist store here in Brisbane called All Threads, but I've Googled it and it's everywhere. It's on Amazon, it's in all of the book places. So you should be able to track it down if you don't have it already. It may have been out a few years and maybe I'm just late to the party. But anyway, so A to Z of flowers, heaps in here to do. So I'll just flip through and show you some of the images. And you can get a bit of a feel for whether this book is something that you might want to add to your little library. It's pretty well set out from showing you the construction. If it is a bit of a construction process, they give you the photos of what to do next as you build up your particular flower. Here's the bottle brush. So there was no real instructions this one, just the image, and I just didn't click that those little petals were all coming from that one point. I'll bring that up to show you. You can see it there. It was quite an interesting exercise, and I still didn't get it as fine as that because I think my thread was a little bit too thick, but it still worked and I was pretty happy with the result. Some Buddleia, another Aussie plant. Love how there's some Aussies in this one. Bougainvillea, a camellia. So the camellia, they give you a bit of a rundown on how to sketch it, then how to satin stitch it in, and then do the centerpiece and then some little stitches inside. So the flowers that do have this building of the flower photos, it's actually really good. So there's just so many in here. Okay, carnations, a clover. There's the cornflower that I did. That's like a big version of it. So they've made the stem a lot bigger than what I did. So just beautiful. There's the little crocus. Okay, some cyclamens. There's a few daffodils. One that's heavily embroidered, one's a little bit looser. And then a beautiful one on the back. Looks like quite a challenge, that one. I love how they've done the bud and then the little flower that's yet to break open. So the bud has dropped to the side. Now it's hanging with this little bit coming out and then it opens up. So very well done. Okay, there's the daisy I did, and there's the second little daisy. It was a good one because it made me think about not only just doing a daisy as you would sketch it as if you're 2 years old, but starting to think about the shape of flowers and how they are in nature. And when you're building a scene of floral, little half flowers and then ones that haven't opened and turned towards you that are facing in another direction, that's a really good one to give you a bit of an idea of how you can make your flowers look more realistic. Okay, that's a daisy chain, and look at that daisy. Isn't that just beautiful? Imagine that stitched just on the corner of a journal cover. Just beautiful. Okay, forget-me-nots, English daisies. I did a forget-me-not in my stitchery and I based it on this one, but I just didn't do all of the leaves that they had. Where's my piece? I just did just a little spray of them because I just didn't have the room. So that's the forget-me-nots. Frangipanis, foxglove. Look at this fuchsia. This will be great. I have some ribbon that I haven't done a lot of ribbon embroidery, And that one would be a beautiful piece to work through. Bring it closer to the camera. Look at those leaves. And then the drops of the buds of flowers at the top there. Just gorgeous. Gum blossoms for all the Aussies. Some hibiscus. Hollyhock. This is an interesting one. See, they gather the lace into little clusters and then stitch it down into position to create that little one. So that one would be a bit of fun. Okay, hydrangea. There's the hydrangea I did. I used all those little French knots. Lovely. That's the one I based it on. Okay, all sorts. There's some iris using ribbon. They've got a beautiful little picture section there that you can follow along so you know what element to do next. It's a great little book. Jonculars, and we've then got into the lavenders. There's 3 different lavenders they did. Okay, so there's quite a few varieties of lavenders out there. Some lilies, lily of the valley. Love that. Look at that. Isn't that just the sweetest? Tiny little stitches, so that'll be a nice one to try. Love the satin stitch in that leaf as well. There's some marigolds, orchids, nasturtiums, more orchids. Now we get into a lot of pansies. Look at those, and they've even stitched a little butterfly in there as well. So if you love pansies, you'll love this book, and there's all sorts of them here. Look at that one there. Lovely. Okay, more pansies, and then we get into poppies. Just gorgeous. Look how they create some loops in the center of the poppy. Then they trim them to create the little fibers that we know are in the centers of poppies. Lovely. All right, so petunias. There's the Queen Anne lace that I did. Very pretty. The roses, there's lots of roses. So there's everything from bush roses, and then there's the grub rose, and they show you the building up of all of the bullion stitches to create that grub rose. They even give you threads that they've used if you wanted to track down the exact things. A very open rose here. Another grub rose in the yellow. Then they've got a ribbon rose. Then they've got some little bush roses again. Aren't they just the sweetest? Beautiful. And they're gathered little pieces of ribbon. Okay, snowdrops using ribbon embroidery technique. Sylvia, lots of French knots, and also the status. Sunflowers. Sweet peas, a few different sweet peas, a thistle, using all the turkey work that we've been putting on bunny tails with the Roxy Creations project, Journal of Stitchery, some tulips. We're getting to the teas now, some violets, more violets. They're so pretty. Look at the leaves, just beautiful. So as you can see, I could literally just dive into this book and stitch my way through the A to Z of flowers. Some wattle for the Aussies again, some wisteria. I'm actually working on a panel of Jessie Chorley's garden panel, and there's all these houses in it. So I'm seriously considering doing wisteria around some of the houses, and I just think that is so pretty. And they've made the flower itself like a cluster of grapes, and they've actually stitched them independently and then popped them in a little bit of glue water stiffener, so that then they become more of a little morsel that is 3D. So you stitch all your vine on and then you add your wisteria flowers. So I'm thinking about using some wisteria on these houses, so I'm dying to have a play with that one. And of course, now we're at Z. In the back, they've given you some sketches that you can use to do your needlework. They're not exactly to size, and some of them are even bigger than what's featured in the book. But it gives you a bit of an idea that when you sit down to sketch your little image in the spot you want, you could maybe use one of these, or they might be too big, so you have to actually just trim it down a little bit. Like that in the book is half that size, but they would be beautiful as they are anyway. So it's really easy just to adapt the designs to suit your piece of work, whether it's just a little hint of something or something a little bit more substantial. Okay, so that's the book. Well worth the investment if you want to track one down and add it to your library. And hours of fun of just pick a flower and stitch it and create a sampler of different stitches and different flowers. Okay everyone, I'll leave it at that, and in future videos we'll pick this book back up and we'll create another panel and then see where it leads us, maybe potentially into a journal of stitchery as well. Okay, we'll see you all soon. Bye bye.